Hello, it is me, Obese Manatee 420 with a Terraria series where we try to beat Calamity mod while only using the true melee class. Thus, we begin with the age-old method of randomizing until I get a character I like. I will acknowledge that some people have done videos like this in the past, like Waffle Time and Adrian, so this video is mostly inspired by them. I will put their channels in the description if you want to watch their content. I decided the first order of business is to build a solid base, followed by a short but stout tip. Maybe an adequately sized tip. This will be a prime place for our lovely citizens to complain about rent and serve me to my every need. While exploring underground, I found a useless balloon which would be bounced around by my childlike strength. Back at base, I craft a gold broadsword and a golden pickaxe, which will both be great upgrades to our arsenal. I ultimately decided to go back down into the caves, which net a forceful return home. I decided to start bombing a way down. I'm not really sure why I decided to bomb here. It just felt right. While exploring in the jungle, I find a turtle which will listen to my schizophrenic rants at 2 AM for the rest of its poor, useless existence. As I was attempting to show my newfound friend how strong and manly I am, I was brutally beaten, battered, and mangled by two cesspools of DNA and chromosomal juice known as jungle slimes. Silly me attempting to fight them again. I get my ass kicked by the two slimes yet again, while attempting to fight them with a literal child's toy, a fucking boomerang. Upset by our lack of power and the vulgarity of these threats, I rush back home to create a blade of grass which near triples our damage and reach. Something about this newfound power possesses me to fling up my frail, small body into the gaping maw of the corruption to attempt a fight against the Eater of Worlds. I begin bombing my way to the orbs, getting some rather mundane loot along the way to start the worm fight. And yeah, pretty much just as you expected. This went about as well as you could possibly imagine. As I venture back down into the jungle, I find a set of feral claws, these which increase my melee speed by a whopping 12% and will surely grant a very large increase to our DPS. I decide the next order of business is to expand our base so we can have more room for my happy and valued workers. I then find the fungal symbiote, something made especially for true melee, buffing its damage by 15% and flinging a spread of shrooms at enemies. I only plan on fighting bosses if I have to or if they have something I want, so I decide to fight the Eye of Cthulhu, who has an evasion scarf to let us dodge all of the women at the college dorms and go straight back to our room to play more Terraria. It also gives a 10% buff to true melee. I decided to craft an instavator for easy access to the caverns and underworld, after deciding a rigid hole in the ground wasn't the most convenient and efficient thing in the world. I find the small green menace himself, the Goblin Tinker. I created a small love box for my sweet little man and I to huddle in so he can steal all of my money much more efficiently and safely. As night falls upon us, I decide to take on the Eye of Cthulhu. The fight was a bit back and forth, mostly in my favor though. Here's the fight. I head back to the corruption on the next day to create a Decapodita sprout and then to the mushroom biome to fight the man himself, but not before my friend decides to join the world. I know I had a summon in this fight, which I understand is not necessarily true melee only, but I think the crab went down pretty easy anyways. I won't be using it, but for a little while longer before I break the habit of just having one summon. As you can very well see, we are attempting to fight the Eater of Worlds again, which, once again, went about as well as you expect it to. Thankfully, you don't have to kill the Eater of Worlds completely to collect his scales and his meat bits, so I decided to upgrade to Shadow Armor before continuing. A blood moon occurs, in which I believe it is the perfect opportunity to farm for a shark tooth necklace. Luckily, it doesn't take very long. I get it on my second enemy killed. After the blood moon, I decide it's for a major power up with molten tools and armor, being our second to last set before hard mode. My friend and I fight Hivemind as it had something he needed. We make pretty short work of the boss, dodging its attacks and the knockback from my sword keeping its minions away from us. My friend tells me he needs something from the Desert Scourge, so we summon him up. We make pretty short work of him between the cleave of my fiery great sword and the pierce of his Jester's arrows. He doesn't last very long. I have turned off Malice mode as I am left alone for the rest of this adventure as my friend grew tired of it. I will still be doing the challenge of true melee only though, but much like the police officer attempting to tase my drunk uncle outside of an Applebee's, he did no damage to me at all. I don't really see any of the vanilla bosses giving us too much of a hard time this run. Also, notice anything different? I sure hope so, because if not, you may need to get your eyes checked. It's my new and ugly as hell home. I built this on a separate world because my friend still wants to play, he just can't that often. So I'm doing most of this on my own. I decided to attempt a Raw Dog Skeletron, no loop, just jump straight in. I think the combination of my shark tooth necklace and the beekeeper made it pretty easy of a fight. So this was the first part of the adventure. The next one will probably go up to the Calamitous fight, or a bit less. It depends on if I decide on a 3 or 4 part series. Tell me if you enjoy, what you would want more or less of, or any general suggestions. But for now, this was the first part of our true melee journey, and goodbye.